Hello everybody, and welcome to a very special OpenNTF webinar. As we blogged about, today we have to share something essential for XPages developers. My name is Niklas Seidloff. I work for IBM in the IBM Collaboration Solutions AppDev team, and I'm a director of the OpenNTF board and the technical committee chair. The speakers today are Güdemann, the new OpenNTF chairman, and Nathan Freeman, who, as you know, is one of the founders of OpenNTF and currently the marketing chair. During the presentation, everyone will be muted. You can ask questions either during the presentation in the e-meeting chat or after the session over the phone if you have dialed into the conference call. OpenNTF.org is the open source site for IBM Collaboration Solutions and has grown significantly over the last years. 5 years ago, when I got engaged in OpenNTF, there were 250 open source projects. As of today, there are 853 projects. That's great and really shows the power of the community, but it also introduces the challenge for OpenNTF consumers to find the projects they are interested in. Christian and Nathan will now describe how OpenNTF will address this to make it easier for XPages developers to find the tools they need, and they will explain how these tools increase developers' productivity. So with that, I hand over to Nathan. Nathan, please go ahead.
Thank you. Can a couple of people type in the chat to confirm they can hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. All right. Welcome, everybody. Before we get to the meat of the call, we want to talk a little bit about the history and the underlying problem that we're trying to address here. So for OpenNTF, a few concepts on it, a few stats on its updates. So we have between 14 and 26 new project releases per month. That's a lot of code to consume. And we're currently seeing between 10,000 and 17,000 downloads of those projects per month. And we run between 61 and 72,000 visitors per month. So there's a lot of people getting a lot of content and a lot of new things being published and produced. We have bindings to over 33 repositories on GitHub and over 840 projects on OpenNTF. I mean, that's just a lot of stuff to have to look through, a lot of stuff to understand what's going on, a lot of things to keep up with. Next slide. So here's a picture of Christian's library at home. It's one of those things that always expands and never shrinks. Right? You could tell he's got, I think we even see some 3-ring binders down there at the bottom that probably have some old COBOL documentation down there at the bottom shelf. I'm sure he's keeping that around for emergency situations. But obviously trying to find anything on these bookshelves is going to be quite a challenge. And when you think about 840 projects on OpenNTF, you have the same problem. So as we're pointing out, our library continues to grow. CollaborationToday.info is a success. We're curating lots of good information there. Xsnippets has exploded in popularity. There, you can go and get code snippets from there. We have lots of new things being contributed on a regular basis. OpenNTF is the home for the extension library, the social business toolkit, lots of stuff from IBM, and of course, lots of stuff from non-IBM developers, I among them. And there's just a constant flow of new things being contributed into this library. So the question you're going to have, the question everybody has is, where do I start? Here's OpenNTF. It's this great resource. What do I do now? And we've tried over the years to try to include search capabilities and categorization and so forth, but it's just even with those kinds of tools in place, it's just overwhelming. And so what are you supposed to do? Do you read all the recent posts in the blog and then you know what to do? Or you find the most popular projects and download those? Well, it's you kind of get the oldest stuff then, right? Do you watch every Notes in 9 session? I'm sure David Leedy would be very excited about that, but that's a lot of work since he's well over 100 now. A lot of work to keep up with all that content. So the need that we think we have here is we need to see all the essential XPages tools to make people productive very quickly. So when a new developer is coming to OpenNTF, when a Domino developer who's cutting their teeth on XPages for the first time comes to OpenNTF, they really want to see what are the things I really need, what are the important critical path things that I need. Show me how I can be productive in 5 minutes and let me deliver brilliant solutions to my customers. So to that end, we've created the OpenNTF Essentials. And it's essentials for developers who are building on the XPages platform. We're focused on new controls, APIs, toolkits that are really centered around productivity, frameworks that help you get things done faster and easier, and tools for debugging and testing the stuff that you have put out there so that it's easier to find problems and get them resolved.
So, and the result of them we call OpenNTF Essentials. Very easy, very easy to know this name or to recognize this name. And Essentials itself is divided, has two goals. One goal is inclusivity and the other is quality. We had a lot of other goals written, and we could summarize it to this one: productivity and quality. Let be people faster, productive, and deliver good quality. And Essential will present you two different packaging or two different layers. One is the Open Essential, the runtime, and the other one is Toolbox. The runtime contains all the plugins that extends the capability of the Domino and XWorks server and planner, and has example application for plugins in there. The Toolbox is more dedicated for debugging and test capabilities. That means in the Toolbox are projects that helps you to debug your code, to test your code, and there is sample code to educate people. So first, start with the runtime, because the runtime extends, the server extends the design. The runtime is I think, a little bit more the heart of OpenNTF Essential. Oh, a phone call during my meeting. That's funny. So I hope you can ignore it. So OpenNTF Essential, talk about the architecture of the plugin we have. On the base, we are based on the XPage runtime and the extension library. And then we have put in all the projects that we think they are essential. It's like the Social Business Toolkit, the Workflow for XPage, the OpenNTF Domino API and the OpenNTF Logger, POI for XPages, Bootstrap for XPages, and the XPages Toolkit. All projects that we at the board love, and most of them we own. And we have put them together. I want to show you short what they delivered this project. So Social Business Toolkit is very well known. It shows all the APIs to connect to connections, all the APIs to access people, community blog, forum, file, and Wikidata. It supports Java and JavaScript calls, and it has a nice playground with ready-to-use samples. And very cool. The playground is also part. We have workflow for XPages that you can design simple workflows for documents, and you have also an API to access workflows directly from Java, and it's prepared with an integration for activity. Yes, we have also bundled the Extlib X, the extended part, because that delivers you the access to relational databases, access to calendar and mail services, and new, it's without the old SBT, the old Social Business Toolkit part, divided out. So you have no concurrent situation with the new Social Business Toolkit. Bootstrap for XPages is also in there because it's very popular and it's so easy to consume. It implements Bootstrap 3.2.1, and it renders application out of the box as a Bootstrap app end. With the 901 server, it's very easy to have for each device an own theme selected. Of course, the OpenNTF Domino API also part of Essentials, and not all countries love this recycling stuff like the Swiss guys. Where I came from, we know that we are world champion in recycling aluminium, but the Domino API is a recycle-free implementation of all Domino classes, and it has now included the OpenNTF logger project, and it's growing and extending. So, POI for XPages, the thing that comes from WebGate, it's a library where you can produce worksheets, documents, and CSV outputs, and also some PDF. And it makes the Apache POI classes available to all X developers. And last but not least, the X Toolkit has a nice RSS list, UI control, agent-like behaviors, and some basic concepts for Domino storage services of Java objects, and also the rendering to JSON. And what would be a good presentation without a demonstration? So our target is that you are productive in 5 minutes. That's a very high target. So let me show how we try to achieve this target. So, hope you see now my entire screen. Voila. I've downloaded the OpenNTF Essentials to runtime. I have here my Domino data, and I have my node ini. My Domino server is actually not running. I have a local Domino server to develop. I think that's a good behavior when you work this. So let's start. Here is the OpenNTF Essential package. And you see I have an update site. Update site Runtime-NSF. I copy this, go to my Domino data. I typically install the things here in the install. Yes, and I replace it. I go back to OpenNTF Essential. I go to the example databases. That are all examples that helps you understand the concept behind all these different plugins. So let's copy them. I have here a directory called OpenNTF Essential. Oh, maybe my flu is a little bit too strong today, because I think that I have all deleted. So here are the databases. Then let's go to my nodes ini. All thing I have to type in here is this OSGI HTTP dynamic bundles. Install update site Runtime-NSF. And now let's start my server. So Domino server starts. And while it is starting, I go and start my administration client. There are several things that I have to do now. First, I have to sign. All my OpenNTF Essentials databases with my user ID, because otherwise they will not run. I personally do also sign the OpenNTF Essentials Runtime update site. So that's done. That will be done in the backend. Let's start my client. Here I have the link to my runtime. And that's an important step now. Since version 8.5.3, it's very important that you sign all these plugins here on the action, sign all content, because otherwise the plugins will not be loaded. So, and now the last step. I have also to enable my designer, that my designer also can use these plugins that I have here, or all these features. And there are different ways how you can do that. I show you my preferred way, and I know that not all love this way, but you will also find tutorials how to do other. Sorry, I was a little bit fast. So on the action show URLs, you see the URLs of this update site. So I copy the NRPC one, and then I go to my widget catalog. Say get started, features and plugins, and put here my URL in there. Say load. Now I see all the features that will be installed. I can select what I need. And in this case, yes, I need them all. I want them all because they are essential for my work. Oh, and now you see the widget name is a little bit annoying, huh? So, the cool thing when you do it this way and you have the update site on a centralized server, you can now send this link out to all development team, and they can install in this way OpenNTF Essentials for their client. So that's one of the reasons why I'm doing it this way, and not with an update site. Yeah. It has now a little bit to work because all these plugins will now be downloaded and integrated to my designer. So while it's doing, I hope that my server has all his jobs done for assigning the database. Oh, so let me restart nodes and go to the server console. Oh. And what I can do here is shortly quit the HTTP task. Load it new. Voila. And then it's good when you make a tell http osgi ss org.opentf to see if all your plugins are activated in the OSGI runtime of the server. And you see they are all in state lazy. That means they are all waiting that we do a little bit stuff with it. So I said I have also installed all the example databases, and I think that that's a huge benefit because in this package it's an example database that I think that everybody's missing. It's the XPages X.NSF. You know it? That's the XPage extension library demo database, and it's no better place to see how you should use all the controls than this database, because you find all the information right there, and you can copy paste samples from here, and yeah. So let me log in. And be sure that you click on administration and create a sample dataset. But we have more here. There are the JDBC one with all the JDBC stuff in there. We have, that's very cool, the SBT playground. So now you can start and define your endpoint to your connections system that you have in place in-house, and then you can already play with the Social Business Toolkit. And I remember the first time that I played with the SBT playground, it was for me a little bit a nightmare to all set up in the right way and so on. Now it's all bundled, it's all ready. You will also find POI pages here, and all these databases, these example databases have one core purpose: to show you how you can use OpenNTF Essentials and how you can now program. And so
Christian, I have to interrupt you here for a moment and just share this this thing for the chat that Ray Billick just said. It's stuff like this that makes me want to get back. It's stuff like this that makes me want to get back into development. I don't think we could get a greater compliment than that.
Okay, thanks. And now your designer is also ready. You have seen it's very easy, and now I can open application management. Oh, sorry. I can go on my local server. And now I try something that I never have tested. So normally it fails. So it's only to say you that it will now fail. So, and then I have a good point to say, and for that we have our debugging tools. So here the POI example databases, and we have also Bootstrap now in this project in OpenNTF Essentials. So when you have a look here, that's the typical One UI file 2. So let's do something crazy. Let's change the theme of that. So we go to the XSP properties. We go here to page generation, and you see here all the libraries that now came with OpenNTF Essentials. And now we are very, very brave. We select the XSP Bootstrap library. And we say here Bootstrap 3.2.1. We save it, say clean. And let's try it again. So as I said, it fails normally. So that would now be the part to figure out why it has failed. That's something that we cover in another part. But as you've seen here, it's very easy. Now you have all here. You have the extension library export. You have social business toolkit. You have the XPages toolkit. It's all ready, and you can start to work. You can start to program. You can see on samples how all things do. So, and I have to find out why this has not worked. So that's another story. So let's go back. Stop sharing. Let's go back to the presentation.
Christian, I'm hearing in the chat that the version number was wrong on your theme. That's why it wasn't working.
Oh, the version number should be what? Has anyone written it?
I'm not sure. Tim just told me to tell you it's the version number, but he didn't tell me what the correct one was. 2.3.1, he says. 2.3.1.
2.3.1. So, stupid thing, huh? So, let's go ahead with our presentation. Sorry that I'm too stupid to keep in mind some numbers. What I
don't think anybody considers that stupid, man.
I'm thinking that now you have seen the power of OpenNTF Essentials from the point of distributing and from the point of being productive in 5 minutes. As I promised you, it's very, very easy, and you are all set up. And because we do this as a webinar, you can watch this on YouTube. And you can show also your customers that you are ready in 5 minutes. You have a little bit to train it, and don't mess up the numbers, huh? So, but I think that the effect will be that the runtime will grow, that other people also want to contribute. And Nathan, you can a little bit talk about how we want to do this in the future, how we want to bring in new projects or existing projects to the runtime.
Sure. So the first thing I want to point out, and Christian alluded to this earlier, you're probably noticing that all of the projects being included right now are projects that are coming from people who are currently sitting on the board of directors. And there was a reason for that. It's not because we think we're the only ones that have the essential projects, not by a long shot. It's because we all agreed with each other that we could make a commitment to ensuring that our projects met the needs of what we wanted to be able to provide. And so we have a few key elements for what that's going to consist of. And other projects that meet those key elements will be eligible to be part of Essentials. If you wanted to think of the best parallel in the open source world, we want to be more like Apache, right? Apache isn't just a giant repository. They have a process where committed code ultimately becomes included as part of the baseline Apache offering, right? So the Apache Commons has a whole lot of code that has a whole lot of functionality for you and does a lot for productivity. So that's the kind of thing we're attempting to achieve here. So when an existing project wants to become part of the OpenNTF Essentials, then there's a few key elements that it has to achieve. So first off, it obviously has to get approved through the Apache license because we want to make sure that we have the most flexible options for consumption of the plugin set. It has to support our goals for the Essentials, so it's got to be about productivity and quality. We don't want to just do sort of the everyday app kind of thing into Essentials because this is really about the developer productivity. It will need to have examples and documentation available. Obviously, documentation is very important. I'm terrible at it. I know lots of other contributors are terrible at it. but we have to maintain that level of quality in order to ensure that people that consume what's in Essentials are getting the best possible experience. And it has to be ready and tested for the target release. So I think in this case we're targeting 901 because we do want to stay at the head of the curve. So again, this is just the start of the process, right? This is open source. So we lay out a process, and then maybe you as developers and contributors don't like it. So we have to fix the process. So this is version 1 of the process. I want to emphasize that because if you don't like the way that this works, we'll change it. The whole point of doing this as open source is that we have to service the community. And part of that community, the most critical part of that community, is our contributors. So for now, you can submit your project. You can do that by emailing the IP manager or any member of the board. I don't know if we're going to add something to the website to make it easier, but that's a possibility. Or you can give feedback directly on the project, the Essentials project itself. You'll have to go through the regular IP clearance process that we already have for Apache version 2. In your mail, you should give us a simple explanation as to why this should be part of OpenNTF Essentials, and we'll need you to develop to show a willingness to change things as they need to be changed. So not to single out any particular person, but it's a really great example of where this comes into play. So Team Studio has a fantastic set of mobile controls for their unplugged projects that they have published on OpenNTF. They're really great. They're very smooth. They're very fast. I'm extremely jealous of them. But the implementation for all of them is as custom controls. So if you want to include them in your own project, it's either an import-export or a copy-paste operation, whereas our objective for Essentials, maximizing developer productivity, is to do things as components and plugins. So in order to get those particular controls into OpenNTF Essentials, we're going to have to figure out how we can get them represented as components and embedded in a plugin rather than being controls or template elements that you copy and paste into your own project. So that's an example of why we need a corrective action and a key element of how to go about doing that.
Okay. I have a little addition about IP clearance and Apache 2. When you start with your great idea and you use other projects, Apache projects or Eclipse projects, or some jars from somewhere, please feel free to contact our IP manager and say, hey, I'm starting with this project. I want to deliver this as Apache 2 project, and I think it should be part of Essential, and I want to include this third-party libraries. So then he can give you some advices about this. It's nothing more frustrated than when you have done all your work and all works brilliant, and then we make a small IP scan and must say no. Here we have some incompatible license and some problems. So please be in this part serious and ask early. And you can be sure nobody will stealing your idea because we do not have the time.
Christian, one thing I didn't point out. I don't think it's published yet, but Peter Tanner has put together a list of pre-approved Apache V2 projects, so that there's a list of stuff that you can include and incorporate that you don't have to go through any inquiries about. So, for example, everything on Apache. So any library coming from Apache that you want to include in your project, you don't have to go through any inquiries. You don't have to go through any particular IP clearance. You just include the notification that the code is in there, and you're done. Same thing with anything from Eclipse. So there's a whole set of them that we're going to be publishing that has just a bunch of pre-approved stuff, and that should make it a lot easier for developers who want to take advantage of some of that pre-approved stuff to know exactly how to do it and make it happen fast.
So, and you will ask, when is it available? And we can proudly say today. After the webinar, we will ship it to our site, and you can download and you can start play. And some hours after the webinar, also the webinar is available that you can go to minute number 14 and then follow the steps that I have done. So, but there is another part. We call it the OpenNTF Essentials Toolbox. Remember? It has to do with debug, test, and educate. And this is not an extension to the runtime of the server. So the toolbox contains several projects. For debugging, we have the XPages log viewer, and believe me, the thing is very cool. We have it on each production server in our company, and also each customer has this XPages log viewer. It has the XPages toolbox. The toolbox is the thing that you need when you have any performance issue or memory leak. And it also contains from Mark the XPages debug toolbar. That's for debugging. Then I've included for source control management the SVN and the eGit integration plugins. I know that the most do not use SVN, but each bigger company in Switzerland that I'm working with, they have a Subversion repository. And when I tell them, hey, with the new Domino Designer, you can, and they are excited because now it's not a thing they do not have under their control. And then we have for plugin development, Domino Designer debug plugin, and the XSP starter kit with sample code for plugin developers. And I switch short that you see how the package looks like. So that's way. Here the Essentials Toolbox, debug tools, and here you have all your debug tools, Eclipse development, sample code, and SCM. And as you've seen here, these are the full projects. They're not pre-assembled, nothing else, because you have to deploy them in a bit another way. And we didn't have any time to figure out how we can make this more easier and flexible. So maybe in the next releases we have something like an installer or so on. So let's go. So let's talk a little bit about the future, because what we have done is we have combined many things. We have a lot internally talk how we can let it grow. We have established some special procedure for the IP process. And now we have, with this announcement, set the spotlight to all this. And that this project or OpenNTF Essentials can be a huge success. It's very, very important that we have tutorials, documentation, education, that we can guide you how to use all these projects, that we can bring you all the ideas in the air. And what we also try is that we each quarter have releases with fixes and new features. And we are also working on implementing a QA process for the individual projects that they really good fit in there. So that's a bit about the future. One thing that we are doing that I can show you here is to spread the words out and to talk about OpenNTF Essential, we are getting invited by TLCC for a deep dive into the essential projects from OpenNTF, and Paul and Mark will join me there. It's a great honor that we can speak on that webinar, and we will go a little bit more in the technical details and show all the people or giving first education. And David Leedy also has told me that he's willing to share everything that we will deliver for OpenNTF Essential on Notes in 9. So we will use also this channel for all tutorials. But that's also a call to you. Documentation, tutorials, education is something that everybody should do on customer side, internally, everywhere. And then it's a very easy thing that you also can do. I call it join a winner team. It's easier to bring in OpenNTF Essentials when it's highly successful. So tell us about your success that you have with OpenNTF Essential, when you solving problems faster, when you deliver better results to your customer. That's very, very needed for all of us, and it's a cool thing to be on the winner team and not on the loser team. So and now let's dream a bit, because on the board I'm the guy that lives somewhere in the future and in a dream world, and I think that's very good because that's a thing of the role that I have. But let's dream. What is if we can make Open Essential ready to use and accepted by the customers? That it is no question to have OpenNTF Essentials installed on each server. And nobody asks for is this covered by support of. What if this could happen? What if we find test and development ways and scenarios that it's rock solid and industry ready, and that OpenNTF Essentials contains 100% solutions, 100% finished, 100% tests, 100% ready for developer? What if we can achieve these higher goals, this higher vision? I say let's dream a bit about this. And I have also some ideas how this could be happen. How we could be develop OpenNTF at itself more like community, like Eclipse or Apache. And I think one of the core elements to develop a community in such a way is that our member companies and other companies must understand the profit they take from OpenNTF for bringing projects into OpenNTF, for delivering good plugins. Behind, as an example, behind the WebGate POI part, behind this POI for XPage, it's not me, myself, and I. I know that there are three people, me, myself, and I. It's a full company. It's WebGate, which has decided that when we develop this plugin and when we make it available as an open source project, we do not affect any possibility of making money. But what we do is we extend our reach, and that is why we invest so many times in it. So, what if we can achieve this? That would be great. What if we can go to be like Eclipse or like the Apache software. That would be so great. That would open for all of us opportunities to deliver results for our customer software, for our customer, which we never have dreamed about.
Christian, can I double down on what you're saying here for the audience?
Yeah, do it.
So let me tell you what my objective is. My objective in OpenNTF Essentials is to make IBM's releases of the Domino server irrelevant to XPages developers. That's my objective. Now, whether or not anybody else gets on board with that is another matter. This is open source. We all have different objectives. We all have different motivations. And we all get on board with the things that actually ring our bells and the things that scratch our own itches. So I don't know to what extent other people will want to join in that effort. But for me, that's what's motivating here. So when it comes to something like the extension library, IBM releases versions of the extension library in line with what their release schedule is, whether they're doing a support pack or whether they're doing a maintenance release or a major release of the Domino product. Well, that's great. I want to have completely separate extension libraries that operate on open source and web timeframes. So that's the kind of ambition that Christian's talking about here, where we want to have extremely high quality, extremely rapid releases, and extremely productive results. What you're seeing here today is version 1 of that, right? This is we're looking at what we have today that can deliver high productivity to existing developers. But in the future, we really want to double down on that and say, well, where are the edges of what we can do today? What are the limits of what we can do today, and how can we make that even better and better and better? So this is just the beginning of the project, and we have one example of things that we're exploring is continuous integration for XPages and for plugin projects. We don't know if we'll ever achieve it. It's a lofty goal, but it's something that some of the board members and some of the member companies are actually working on, so that you'd be able to have an XPages project that goes through an entire server-based build process and ultimately goes through a unit test series, and you can see on an ongoing basis, whether with your plugins or with your specific XPages templates, whether or not your releases are achieving your testing goals on an ongoing basis. That's one example. This is a process that major software development houses use that's very common, that nobody in the notes industry has been able to do, and that's the kind of thing that we want to break through. So with what you're seeing today, we're saying we've bundled this stuff together, you can use it right away. But the future vision is really to take the entire platform on to a next level and to do it in an open fashion that really is responsive and addresses the needs of developers by allowing them to directly contribute to the result. End of speech.
Okay. Thanks, Nathan. So, call for action. Download and install it today or tomorrow. Give us feedback. What do you like? What do you not like? Let us know where you have success or if you have success. And let us know where you need assistance, where you need more tutorials, where you need more explanations. And yes, contribute. There are several projects in there that I know that the owner is willing to accept help. So it's a good thing. And if you're a member company, if you have some core business, and if you have some components that you think that is useful for all of our OpenNTF community or for all developers, so contribute, bring them in. We can all win, and when we win together, mostly we are not fighting against each other, mostly we are fighting against some other people. So, let's go to the Q&A. So I switch back to Nicholas.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Christian. Thanks a lot, Nathan. Great presentation. I think this is a great idea, great concept. I really hope that it helps more people to use more open source software from OpenNTF. It certainly makes the installation and also just to find the most essential XPages projects much easier. There have been a lot of questions in the e-meeting. I think Nathan has probably answered all of them. Nathan, is there anything you want to bring up explicitly here?
Not that I didn't just bring up. One person, Martin Meyer, is asking, is there help available for people with no experience with creating plugins? Sure. Yeah. I mean, we'll be happy to help you. I don't know if we have a specific support approach for that yet. I know for me, the best way would be Skype, but there might be other ways. I think there's some online tutorials. I know there's a Notes in 9 that covers converting custom controls to component plugins. And of course, included in the Essentials is the XPages SDK and the XSP Starter Kit. So there's starting examples for how you hook up Eclipse into your existing Designer and Domino installs, and how to, from there, create XSP libraries from scratch. So there's some great examples there, and hopefully that'll help out with productivity.
Okay. Are there any other questions? For people who have dialed into the conference call, you can ask your questions directly now, but you have to unmute yourself using *6. So if you have questions, just speak up. Are there any other questions from the e-meeting, Christian or Nathan? I don't see anything that hasn't been answered yet. No.
So what I also can offer is when you are at IBM Connect, when you have specific questions, we will have a booth at the IBM Connect. You will find us at booth number 308 and bring your questions, and sometimes Nathan will be there, sometimes I'm there, and others from the board. So we try to help, and I hope that we can give you good and accurate answers.
Yeah. Okay. There was one more question here.
There's a question. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No.
Is it possible to specify a version number of the plugin that I want to load? Actually, I don't know. We'll have multiple versions of the update sites to address multiple versions of when we deploy this stuff. So you'd certainly be able to go back into the archives and download an older version and install that update site. I don't think from a single update site we'll end up supporting back versions. Christian, do you have any input on that?
I think it's not possible, but I have to double check this. I think that's a bit the limitation of the OSGI framework.
Yeah, no, I think so too.
I'm not quite sure.
No, I think so too. I think you're right. I don't think that's supported by the XPages runtime to specify an older version as the one that you use.
Yeah, and his specific question is, can you use plugin 1.0.0 in one NSF and 1.1 in another NSF? No, that I'm sure we would not be able to support, not on the same server.
But we have learned from the past, and we try to keep APIs constant. So that means when you have 1.1, that your 1.0 code should work. So that's also a reason why I'm working with example databases. Each example database has a whole set of test scenarios. And when my old example database works, so I can say all the things that I've think about programming from the version 1 now works also for version 1.1. Okay.
Okay. So last chance. Any other questions?
Or any feedbacks?
yeah, feedback. We are really interested in feedback. So if you don't have feedback now, let us know after this by Twitter, on our blog, Skype, Facebook, wherever.
Or unmute and just tell us right now how awesome we are.
That's even better. But I think most people have dialed into the audio cast only. So. Okay, good. So then thanks again to Christian and Nathan, and thanks for everyone else for attending. We will have another webinar soon. Check out our blog to see what the content will be and when exactly it will happen. Again, thanks a lot for attending, and goodbye.